The fight for your life may come at you with only a split-second notice. Want to take your knowledge beyond the narrated videos? Join us on Active Self-Protection Extra and subscribe for multiple videos every week to help you get better in your defensive skills. Hi everyone, this is John with today's Active Self-Protection lesson out of Northampton County in Pennsylvania in the United States. Here we see two officers who are doing a fairly routine traffic stop until everything goes sideways. Corporal Kelly to the left and Trooper Seipel to the right have pulled this man over for really excessive speed. We have audio from here, so let's listen in and then we'll come back and learn some lessons.
What? Hey, place your hands. Stop resisting! I got him. Keep the taser on. Stop resisting! Keep the taser on. Get on your back! On your back! On your back! All right. Get on your back! My gun! My gun! Oh, goodness! All right, be my ass. Get the f*** in your back!
The jury found this man guilty of attempted murder on the two officers. Corporal Kelly almost lost his life and thankfully is making a full recovery. Boy, that one is scary and crazy as all get out, and we hope that the officer who was shot makes a full recovery. Did you know that we turned on channel memberships here at Active Self-Protection? You can hit that join button, and every month we do a live Q&A and other special perks. So think about joining the channel. We would sure appreciate the support. Out of this video, I want to talk about some significant lessons, including the difference between law enforcement and CCW fights and how they start and how they end. I also want to talk about working together as a team, the importance of empty-handed skills, and firearm skills to self-defenders. So the law enforcement officers have initiated the contact here, but it is the perp who is going to initiate the actual fight. That's a significant difference between law enforcement encounters and CCW encounters. In CCW encounters, it's the perp who initiates the contact, CCW holder who almost always initiates the fighting. Whereas in law enforcement circles, that's exactly the opposite. You notice here that it's when he starts resisting or he wants to fight the officers that the fight starts, and that difference in mission always drives our tactics, our techniques, and our procedures. So you have to train with your mission in mind, and that is one thing that when my watchers, who most of us who aren't law enforcement officers, watch law enforcement fights, we got to recognize they're going to start differently than most law enforcement fights do, and so we have to recontextualize. Now they're trying to get this guy down, and I want to notice as the officer, as Trooper Seipel has his taser out here, that our bad guy comes out and reaches for it, but he pulls it in. If you leave that thing out there, whether it's a firearm or a taser, it can get taken from you, which is why on the range we work on high retention shooting. We work on a high compressed ready shooting position because at this kind of distance you want to maintain control over your tool. He did an excellent job of that here. Now, as Corporal Kelly comes out, I want to notice they get after this guy, they're trying to get the tasers on him, and then right there on the left foot of Corporal Kelly, you'll notice that his gun has fallen out. His backup gun has fallen out of a holster that is next to his boot, and that is confirmed. Go read it in the news stories. It is absolutely there. This is one of the reasons that I say your concealed firearm, that's his concealed firearm, his backup gun, has to be in a holster that has retention, has to be in a holster that will hold on to that gun via strenuous movements. So that's one of the requirements of a holster, that have enough retention to hold on, because he drags that guy right by his backup gun. Could have been a serious problem. Now, thankfully, Trooper Seipel sees that, pulls it, and is going to go ahead and safe that firearm. He's just going to take the magazine out of it, unchamber around, and literally toss it here out of the way, and then get himself back in the fight and try to put cuffs on this guy. Now, let's think about our empty-handed skills here. First of all, it's incredibly difficult to control someone who does not want to be controlled. And that's what we see here. Now, again, this is different between CCW gunfights and law enforcement gunfights, because the CCW is probably not going to be holding someone like this. Now, notice when the guy goes for the officer's gun, he went for his holstered duty weapon, and that's a big significant issue, and raises the threat here to the level of deadly force. Now, these officers are showing remarkable restraint, but recognize as well that this is a reminder for us to work together as a team, to communicate with one another, to see what they need to do, each one, so that they're not duplicating effort. And I think that there's more than just words to this. There's body language, there's eyes, there's understandings, but working together with your partner in your empty-handed training, whether that's your law enforcement partner or your spouse or whatever, is, I think, an important part, an important skill, especially if your spouse is a self-defender, if that's what we're talking about here. Now, I want to see a couple things as the gunfight starts. He's going to go back in and reach for his firearm. And notice here that as we slow it down, notice Trooper Seipel here. Notice his firearm safety. That was an incredible exposition of firearm safety. He had his gun out and on the guy because he saw the deadly threat coming. But then as his partner, as Corporal Kelly comes by him, notice his muzzle is high. Sees his partner coming by, puts his muzzle up so that he doesn't point his gun at his partner. Friends, you always got to keep your firearm pointed in a safe direction. That includes in a gunfight. And I think what Trooper Seipel did there was incredibly important and was very admirable. Now, what we don't know here, and what we're going to see, what we haven't seen so far, is that right there, what we're going to see is that Trooper Seipel got one shot off. But during the struggle for his firearm, we're going to see the fact, if you go read the news story, that the button for his magazine release was pushed, and so his magazine is out of battery. So he had a one-shot failure to load a new round in the chamber, and therefore his gun is out. He got the first shot off, but sometimes that can happen, friends, which is why we talk about, a tap rack and reassess if you have a malfunction in the gun. This is actually the first time that I've seen a magazine, still in the gun, but not functioning in the gun, and that causes Trooper Seipel to go out. Now look at Corporal Kelly here. He comes out and his first shot is from a high kneeling position. That's something that I think that everybody should have in their repertoire. He rolls off, gets his gun out and in the fight, and from a high kneel, he is getting shots through this guy. Now that's something that you need to train on the range. You need to go beyond your CCW class so that you can shoot from compromised and unconventional positions. Also want to pay attention to the fact that shooting through both sides of the car, through the windows on both sides, is going to do all kinds of goofy things to bullets. And therefore, you got to recognize that maybe shooting into a car on the range is something that you want to do, to maybe have to put the windows out and then get shots on target. Now, the first one that you see right there, that's Corporal Kelly being shot in the neck. Takes one in the neck right here, but notice he's going to stay in the fight. You got to recognize that your emotional fitness has to be strong enough that even badly wounded, you got to stay in the fight until the fight is over. And he does that. Now, you're going to see right here that he takes another shot, and that shot actually severed Corporal Kelly's femoral artery. But I want you to notice the fact that even almost mortally wounded, he nearly died of his wounds, that Corporal Kelly is going to stay in there and put more shots on target, even though he knows he's hit twice. That takes incredible emotional fitness, and I think is incredibly laudatory from him there. And you see those shots going on target. Now, it is Trooper Seipel that is going to actually get finally his gun back on target, as Corporal Kelly is going to have the presence of mind to go try to find some cover so he's not shot again. And our perp is going to be shot twice in this instance, and then he's going to finally run off, or I think twice, might only have been once, and he's going to end up getting out. Now, the news story says that Corporal Kelly put his own tourniquet on his leg, and then when responding officers arrived, they put a second tourniquet on him to save his life. Great reminder for us to always keep your first aid equipment on you, always know how to use it, have the training to use a tourniquet, because it can save your life someday. I think these troopers had a heck of a bad thing that came their way. I think they handled it with aplomb. I think that there's many things that we can take a look at here for examples of how to do things well to cover our ASP.